Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Well, hello everybody, it's Becky Brown today, and I am so grateful to be here, and I am so grateful that I'm joined by Dr. Alice Benton. She's a psychologist, author, and speaker, and mother extraordinaire, as well as Stacey Sadler-Smith, who is also a licensed professional counselor, also has many different letters behind her name that she's done extensive work with partner trauma recovery and is also the chief clinical officer of the practice that she serves at. And so we're so grateful. We're going to be answering your calls for a couple of hours. 1-800-229-3000. That's the number to call. And we do want to hear from you. You know, we want to answer the questions that you have. And but right now I want to know, what is on your mind, Stacey? What do you have for us?
Well, what has been on my mind lately, lots of trainings I've been doing and things that I've been involved with my clients, is attachment. When we talk about attachment, it really helps understand why couples and why people do what they do. Attachment, just in brief, is, we come into this world with a secure base, which is our mama, and we hopefully can have an experience where we believe that we get protection and comfort and security from that figure in our lives. And then we go into a marriage where we pick another attachment figure that we hope brings us comfort and protection as well. And then we're off to the races, because often that doesn't happen. And I have been learning a lot about explicit and implicit communication. What we're saying outside is explicit communication, and what we're feeling inside is what's happening implicitly. So basically, when we go to resolve an issue, it's never about the issue that we're trying to solve. It's always about all the things that are primed up inside of us that we're reacting to based upon where we've been in life, our traumas, and maybe even our mental health history. So sometimes we end up stepping in each other's wounds, and as a marital therapist, I am jumping in to help them stop the bleeding, recognize the cues for being triggered, recognize when their partner gets triggered, when they have a strong reaction one way or the other. You know, we're hurt in relationship, and we can heal in relationship. And my job is to help couples learn to develop the capacities in the areas that they may have deficits, and to be able to be good stewards of the marital space, the couple bubble, as Stan Tatkin says in the psychobiological approach to couples therapy, to be a good steward of that space and learn how to resolve things together. Just loving that work and loving working with couples in those areas.
I love that. You know, Stacey, that reminds me, you know, when you say we step into each other's wounds, it's kind of like if you step into a mud puddle and the mud goes all over you. A lot of times in our relationships, we get big reactions from people that feel out of context. It's like, where did that come from? And yet recognizing what our attachment experiences are or are not, and how that's playing out in our relationships, changes everything about our connection. Well, listen, listeners, I know that you've had some challenges in your relationships. You've got incredibly wise women who can answer your questions today, whether it is about attachment, whether it's about wounds, or whether it is about how do I quit having the same argument over and over again with my loved one. We are here to help you for the next couple of hours. 1-800-229-3000. I know that you want to call because you got stuff. Everybody's got stuff. We hear about it all the time. And we can't wait to hear your stuff and provide you with some insight and some answers. We're going to be right back with New Life Live after this.
Restore gave me strength. It gave me more belief in my faith. I met up with a group of women that are going through things that they had no control over.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Washington, D.C. November 1st through the 3rd. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I had a great experience at Restore.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. It's Becky Brown with Dr. Alice Benton and Stacey Sadler-Smith, and we're answering your calls for a couple of hours. You can call us 1-800-229-3000. And at the open, we were talking about attachment and core wounds and the way that we interact with each other. Alice, what's your 2 cents on that?
Well, when I ask people about the comfort that they received in childhood, unfortunately, so many have little recollection of having received comfort. Even a one-time memory of comfort, none or less than that, most people have no memory of comfort because our parents were broken. They didn't know how. They didn't learn how to be there in a warm and consistent way. And so when we didn't receive it in childhood, it makes it even harder to know in adulthood what good, healthy comfort looks like. And so most of us have figured out really subpar ways of coping. It even makes me think of a toddler who's overwhelmed with emotion, and the very thing he needs to be picked up, to be comforted, cleaned, fed, he will usually reject, slap, push away, scream against, even though it's what he needs. So we grow up with confused emotions, and luckily in adulthood we can repair that and figure out how to correct comfort.
That's so true. Stacey?
Yeah, thinking about what you said, Alice, the child that's doing that is doing it for self-protection. And we teach people how to understand what they're doing for self-protection and not pathologize it, but help them understand that's why we're doing it. A baby does that because what are they fearing? They're fearing rejection. They're fearing they're not going to get what they need. We call that abandonment pain or fear. And so we understand why we do those things to cope, but then we also know that we're not living in our values if, what we call self-actualizing, if we, if we're doing those defense mechanisms and those coping skills. Again, we work on understanding that's the way we learned how to survive childhood, but it's not necessarily what we want to take into relationships. So we focus back on living in our value system and risking rejection because that is what relationship is.
It's really amazing, too. The question that we start that with is, what is your first memory of being comforted? Mm-hmm. Like you were talking about, Alice. And it's interesting because you do have answers all across the spectrum. First of all, people don't think about it. They don't think about how I receive comfort. They don't even realize the impact of the lack of, or maybe the overcare. I don't know if that's a thing, but if you have a relationship that is a little bit too much into you, it can also, cause some damage as well. But do you see those two extremes as well in people?
Certainly the overprotective parent or the helicopter parent might actually not allow their child to experience enough difficulty and struggle in order to develop the character strength that they need to face the ongoing troubles that they'll have in life. So we can go to either end of the extreme. Thankfully, research has shown that parents who are attuned, parents who can read their children pretty well and respond to their needs, about 30% of the time, that's really the level that we need to be attuned at to help our children to succeed. We can't do it all the time. We can't do it perfectly. But if we're striving and about a third of the time we can get it right, that sets our children up better to understand and deal with their own difficult emotions.
I love that. Well, listen, if you've got issues with your parents, or maybe you're a parent and you're trying not to mess up your kids, which I tell you, that's a challenge. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. Right now, we're going to talk with Candy, who's calling us from Dallas. She listens on KWRD. Hello, Candy. How can we help you today?
Hi. So glad you're talking about helicopter parents, because that's what my question is regarding.
Well, great.
Yes. I am older. I just turned 43 this year. My daughter just went to college. My mom had me pretty young, and we had no relationship whatsoever, but I think she was trying to overcompensate by being a grandparent, an overly involved grandparent, and she kind of interjected in pretty much any decision I made as a parent. But now my daughter just went to college last week, and I'm thinking I need to separate from my mom. We just have no relationship, and she's kind of overbearing even at this age. And I'll just add one more thing, that I was engaged to be married a few years ago, and I promise you this, guys, that I could not marry into that family because my mom is overbearing and things like that. And so just wondering if I should try to salvage a relationship because no one corrects her. It's just kind of, everybody's like, don't say anything, just let her just vent and just, and then, everyone tiptoes, and I'm just kind of over it,
That's awesome, Candy, that you have that awareness. Stacey, how would you begin this process?
Well, Candy, it sounds like you already know the direction you're headed, and I'm going to support you in that. It sounds like you're really saying, hey, I need to set some boundaries with Mom, and because this being overbearing is not okay with me, and there is nothing wrong with having some space with your mom. You say people are telling you not to say anything to her because she'll just react. Well, boundaries are always about you, what you will do and what you won't do. And so you can just be clear about what you'll enter into and what you won't enter into. And it sounds like you're aware that it affected a previous relationship. And so it seems pretty clear that maybe getting some space from your mom would be healthy for both of y'all. And I just want to tell you that whatever happens because of you setting the boundaries doesn't mean that the boundary's wrong. So if Mom gets mad, prepare yourself for that, because people don't like boundaries. Boundaries are a rejection, but usually they're a healthy move toward asserting what you need for yourself. I encourage you to get with a counselor and talk about how to set healthy boundaries and the kind of contact that you want to have with your mom, to be able to talk through, what holidays might look like, or when you do have conversations with her, what those would look like.
That's so good, Alice.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Candy, you're facing a tough set of conversations, probably both within yourself of where am I going to draw some of these lines, and then if you choose to explain that to your mom, those will probably be difficult both to say and for her to receive. And it stands out to me that you said no one corrects her. So she may be sort of in a vacuum of information here that she may be unaware, even if she's an intelligent woman, but unaware of how much her overbearing approach affects people. And so the Bible tells us that we should attempt truth with people first, to point out, I'm struggling with this. I care about you, care about relationship. It usually helps to name some of the good things that occur in relationship. I know you care about me and you want to help me in my parenting. But Mama, I realize I struggle when I get unsolicited advice. And so I'm wondering if you would try holding off on giving me unsolicited advice. Now, if she's never heard that before, that might shock her. It might insult her. And if she hasn't done much recovery work, it's really hard for us to receive negative feedback like that. But it's good to give people a shot first to see, can you respond to an assertive, kind request? And then if she cannot, and she's not willing to change, if she completely denies it, I never do that, what are you talking about? Then that gives you more information about the safety level of, can she back off on this behavior? And if she can't, then that helps you decide, how much do you need to pull back? How much do you need to decrease your exposure to her so that you can protect your own state of internal serenity? And because we're called to honor our parents, God usually wants us, if possible, to keep some level of contact, some level of communication. It's not always feasible to do that, depending on the severity of your mom's behavior. So do you have a guess? How much do you need to pull back? And what level of interaction might still be good for the sake of honoring a mom who's really tough to be around?
Amen. I totally agree. And that is the scripture that I think of when it comes to how much access, during this time. Trying to honor,
Candy,
but still honor my own boundaries.
But Candy, how does it sound when you hear Alice and Stacey talk about boundaries and setting boundaries? What do you feel? What do you think? Have you tried this before?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I say, Mom, thank you for your opinion. I'll let you know what I decide to do. And she's like, no, you need to do it this way. This is the only way. She's very domineering and not just aggressive, but also passive aggressive. So I've tried to have this conversation with her multiple times. I value you. Thank you for your opinion. You've done a lot for me and Amran. I really appreciate it. But,
Candy,
I just need to figure this out for myself.
I'm going to push back a little bit because although it's a kindness to say thank you and I value your opinion, I don't think it's true anymore within your heart about your mom. So it's a polite thing to say, but I want to ask you to strengthen it, to not actually thank her anymore for her opinion, but rather, after letting her know again clearly, I can't receive unsolicited advice. Then when she tries to give an opinion again, I want you to attempt saying, Mom, I think you're giving me advice right now, and I need to not receive advice from you. Could you stop? And even interrupting her, because allowing her to finish the advice, it enables it, and it sends a message you don't mean to send, which is, Mom, I value your opinion. Keep going. Thank you. And now you're saying both things. You've both said stop, but the gratitude says go. And your mom takes the green light on this one rather than the red light. Mm-hmm. Then if she continues the advice, even when you say, oh, Mom, I think you're giving unsolicited advice. Would you stop, please? I can't hear it. Mm-hmm. If she keeps going, Mom, I got to step away from the conversation. I got to end the phone call. I got to step out of the room. Now, Candy, if you're at all a people pleaser, which children of overbearing parents can tend to be, not always, but can, it's so hard for us to be that firm because it feels rude to be that firm and unchristian-like. But if we're not speaking truth that firmly and we're boiling on the inside and the resentment is increasing and I'm starting to really despise being around my mom, I can't stand hearing this, then it's a false gratitude on the surface that is not true to the heart state on the inside. Now what I'm saying is kind of harsh. So how are you holding up hearing this from me?
I totally agree. I do let her know. I said, Mama, I have to stop you there.
Oh, good.
Especially if she's saying something is not true, but she's speaking it as if it's true, or she's validating her own feelings, but it's my situation. And so it's like, no, Mom, I hear what you're saying, but that's not how it really is. I'll correct her and things
that's
like
good.
that. And so I've walked away. And if I do that, she will stop talking to me, for periods of time and, just use that
Stacey?
silent treatment.
So, Candy, we're objective, and we can hear things that you say. And you said, thank you, I'll let you know what I'm going to do. And you don't have to let your mom know what you do. Sometimes maybe the thing that you have to get used to is not giving her so much information about your life and your daughter. You don't owe her all the things because she isn't a good steward of those things. So one of the best things you can do is role play these kinds of things. Pick someone that is a safe person in your life that you can role play this with, that can sort of be the bucker that your mom is. And sometimes it's a counselor to help role play those conversations because we're just so used to having them a certain way.
Yeah.
Right.
And can I say one last thing is that, Candy, we honor our parents in different ways when we become the people that God has created us to be. Because we have, I know, because we've had callers across this country who call in and don't have parents who are honorable. Now, I'm not hearing that from your mom necessarily. But I think what happens is that passage of scripture gets convoluted. And so you think that you have to keep having these responses that Stacey and Alice are outlining for you that has to change. you honor your mom, you honor her by being the woman that God created you to be, and in all ways to, make the best of this challenging situation. We're so glad that you called in today. We're going to send you a copy of Forgiving Our Fathers and Our Mothers by Dr. Jill Hubbard. I think that'll help. What you said, Stacey, is so true. Just because we set boundaries doesn't mean that the other person's going to like it or that it's going to feel good setting the boundary. But it doesn't mean that it's not a bad thing, right? I mean, it's a shift in our thinking. If you need a shift in your thinking, we can help you with that. We've got lines open. We've got some callers waiting. 1-800-229-3000. If it's not one thing, it's your mother, right? And the three of us being mothers, I don't know what that, it's okay. Pray for us. That's what we need. We'll be right back after this.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hid with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I ended up getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are so grateful to be here for you, and we are going to take your calls for the next hour and a half, 1-800-229-3000. And right now we're going to go to Amy, who's calling us from Pinckney, Michigan, listens on Sirius XM. Hello, Amy. Thanks for calling in. How can we help you today?
Hi there. How are you today?
Doing well.
Well, I have two boys, 24 and 22, my husband and I do, and the relationship with the 24-year-old is horribly strained. I don't know where to go with it. Prayer, crying. It's strange. We've had some confrontations recently. I don't know how to not walk on eggshells or how to even get the attention of let's sit down and talk and not ignore this. I can't even get through that barrier.
Amy, what's the big topic that you guys are tussling over?
Well, I believe my oldest holds a lot of grudges, a lot of chips on his shoulders, and things that might have been said that I don't believe were said that he says were, and I'm fine with that. Years, like 10, 15 years ago. But I think I don't want to, even one of my pastors said, just sit down and talk, and I don't even know how to approach that. Holding a chip on his shoulder, and the way I am, I just let things go, and you know what, give it to the Lord. I mean, I have no other choice. So I can't even imagine living with all of this built up constantly that you said 10 years ago this, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't even relate to that.
Amy, as you think about sitting down with him, but you're hesitant to, what are you afraid will happen if you try to open another conversation with him about this?
He walks away. He walks away. He owns his own business. He's done, in my opinion, outstanding. I could never start a business at 18, not ask for one bit of help financially or anything. And I brag about that, and he gets mad that I brag about that. I can't do anything right. I praise him for, my goodness, who can do that? I mean, he's got a business 101 class and management and everything, and all in one.
So on the surface, Amy, to the rest of the world, it looks great, but between the two of you, there is great disconnection.
It's horrible. He doesn't like my family. They're successful. We're pretty middle class. My family is pretty successful, but we're just regular middle class. So he really has a chip on his shoulder about them.
Amy, in your good ability to let things go and just give it to the Lord, I wonder if it's possible that there's ended up being some avoidance and perhaps even unintentionally sweeping some things under the rug in the hopes that the family would just get past it because it wasn't that big of a deal. I don't think it happened that way. And so do you think it could be that he had previously wished you would put more attention to some of his concerns and complaints, and he might feel like you've been avoiding a conversation about it?
You nailed it, yeah. Because that's how my family did everything. It'll pass, and then, we're all happy, and it's not right. I don't want this generational thing going on.
And as your family did, go ahead.
Well, the antithesis to avoidance is leaning in. And so I call that holding space for your son. And in holding space, what we do is we invite the hearer to say whatever they need to say, and we respond to them in a validating way. So statements like, I don't think I said those things can be defensive. And in order to validate and listen and hold space, we have to withhold our opinion. I can't relate to that. You don't have to relate to that. You can hear what he's saying even if you don't agree with it. So if he says, 15 years ago you said this hurtful thing, oh, wow, tell me more about that. I'd like to hear how you felt about that. Tell me more. I don't like your family. Oh, really? Let's explore that. Tell me what you don't like about my family. Oh, well, that makes sense that you wouldn't like XYZ. You don't have to agree with it to validate it because you're validating that it makes sense to him that is his opinion. Validation, you don't have to totally throw out your values, but if you're trying to hold space for someone, you're welcoming their opinion, you're welcoming their words, you're not limiting them in very many ways, of course, unless they get abusive or something like that. But you're opening up the lines of communication and making it any emotion he's feeling, making him feel welcome, and that is the antithesis to avoiding hard situations.
Amy, hold on. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and hear from Alice one more time. Being the parent of adult children is the greatest adventure you're going to be on, Amy. And I think, what Stacey's just presented is true, but it's not easy. And, it's and I think a lot of times we want it just to go easy, and it's just not. But we'll find a way. We'll be back.
I'm addicted to oxycodone. I've been on oxycodone almost 3 years.
Addiction affects millions of people every year.
I've been on it for a long time, and I need to get off.
New Life can connect you with some of the finest Christian inpatient treatment programs in the country that work with people from all backgrounds and beliefs.
First, it was for back pain, and I was on it for a long time. And then I currently just had shoulder surgery.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction to illegal or prescription drugs, alcohol, or dealing with an eating disorder, it's time to seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers all around the country.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or visit us online at newlife.com. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking with Amy, who has 2 adult sons, and the oldest one and she are just in a big division. Alice, what would you like to add to what we already have talked about?
Well, Amy, I just want to praise you that you seem open to our feedback and willing to try again, willing to figure out how to get past your fear, because you seem to know that a deeper conversation will be valuable to you and your son, although it won't be simple, but it will benefit you both. And I want to point out that your son seems to want to talk about tough things. And as intimidating as that can be as a parent, it's harder to get through to a child who has completely shut down and is not willing anymore to talk about the things that upset him. But because he has some willingness, there's an opening, and that's why we want you to take advantage of it. You might need, though, to build up your ability to do this, and whether that, it should include a couple of things. Certainly reviewing what Stacey was teaching you was the Comfort Circle from Mylan and Kay's How We Love, and you can get the Comfort Circle free from their website, and it's in the book. You might need to work with a coach to role play what you're worried will happen so that you're braced and ready to really stick with the structure of being a prolonged listener, as Stacey was modeling for you. And then I want you to be prepared that some of the things your son says may be an exaggeration. They might be a false accusation against you, and it may be something that somebody else did, but he's projecting it onto you. And some of these things our kids do subconsciously, and yet the outline of still being a listener without defending or justifying, it helps our children get to what the truth really is. So my child once told me when I was disciplining him, he said, "You're so harsh, you're being so mean." So I didn't tell him he was wrong, although I thought he was wrong. Instead, I heard him out, and then I took what he said to somebody else who was more objective than the two of us at the time, because we were both too emotional. And in the feedback I got, I determined I was not being too harsh or too mean at the time. But my son was projecting something onto me because he was upset with what I was doing. But nonetheless, it still cautioned me to be a better listener to my son and to figure out why he thought I was being too harsh and mean, because there was a meaning to the complaint that he had, even though I don't think it was accurate to what I was doing at the time. But Amy, I needed to get feedback from somebody else to figure out where the truth lies in my child's messy emotions.
That's awesome. Okay. Amy, we're going to be praying for you, and we're going to send you a copy of Dr. Jim Burns' book, Doing Life with Your Adult Children, Keeping the Welcome Mat Out and Your Mouth Shut. I have a lot of teeth marks on my tongue as I have raised my adult kids. I know Stacey too, because we commiserate from time to time. But we're grateful that you called. I just want to give a quick shout out to our Club New Life family who provides on a monthly basis donations so that we can reach out to so many people. We're so grateful for all that you do. As a matter of fact, our first caller today, Candy, that was her first time listening and she called in. Just think about the reach that Club New Life has. We are grateful. If you want to be part of Club New Life, you can go to newlife.com/donate. Right now, we're going to go back to the calls. We're going to keep taking calls, 1-800-229-3000. Right now, we're going to talk with Jason, who's calling us from Knoxville, Tennessee, listens on WRJZ. Hello, Jason. Glad you called. How can we help you today?
I've had a question for how to help prevent becoming a helicopter parent.
Okay. How old are your kids, and do you think that you are one right now?
I quite possibly am, because I've had issues when I was younger. I was abused, neglected, and abandoned and all that. And I might be trying to overextend the care and love, but I'm trying to make sure that I don't help mess her up as well. She's a little
older. How old is she, Jason?
4.
Oh, goodness. Well, Stacey, how can we help Jason land the plane or helicopter?
Right. There's several different models that we use in the field of psychology. And a 4-year-old still needs some adult protection, but not, we want the 4-year-old to understand that the world is a safe place when you stay within certain guidelines. But if we overparent or we're overly fearful, we make that child, we create in them a sense of fear that the world is not a safe place. And so therefore the child can be blunted in their ability to explore and be adventurous and be independent and have adventure in their life. We don't want to stifle things like that. So if we're overly concerned, you could get hurt here, or that person might be getting, might get you, a stranger might get you. We want to be careful in the way that we do that. And thank you, Jason, for just making that. You didn't quite make the connection between, or a little bit. You said, I was underparented, I was neglected, and so now I'm going to overparent. And we see that a lot. People coming in going, they make a vow, I am never going to neglect my kids. And so in the result of that, they are really overparenting. And I would say that you are probably overparenting little Jason, your little Jason inside that needed that, and that your sweet little girl is probably way more resilient than little Jason is, because little Jason hasn't gotten his healing. And so that is a good, honest mistake that we make in parenting. And so I think the first step that you've taken by making this call and saying, how do I not do this, is a great first step. And there's a lot of education out there about how to not parent out of our own trauma.
I love that. Alice?
Jason, it will entail recalibrating your radar. And so if your childhood story hasn't yet been talked about and mourned, lamented, the anger you need to feel towards those perpetrators and the people that didn't protect you from them, oddly enough, it's by working through those stories with either a friend, a pastor, or a therapist, because you went through some extreme things and we don't even know the details of it. And so by being able to settle your own system down, because your system might still be on high alert for those dangers being perpetrated against your 4-year-old. And even though, of course, we have to be wary and concerned, in parenting these days, we have become overprotective of our children physical safety, and we've really brought them inside and kept them in, and we haven't given them quite enough freedom to get hurt, to explore, to get dirty. And instead, we overprotect them physically, but we underprotect them when they go on their screens. And that's actually the zone where children are so likely to be exposed to abusive things and to graphic content. And so by figuring out the balance of allowing physical struggle, allowing children to have to face frustrations and even some pain, it strengthens them rather than weakening them when we let them have the right amount. And so, Jason, I hope you'll ask for feedback from 3 trustworthy people who see you parent. Ask them, what am I doing well, especially in this area of taking good care of my child, but not being overly cautious. And then ask them for 3 areas of improvement. But it's with the balance of asking what you do well and then where you could improve that you'll better be able to metabolize their feedback.
I love that. Jason, we're going to send you a copy of How We Love Our Kids, which I also think could help you get some ideas about these core wounds that we've been talking about, even when we talk about attachment. So we're grateful that you called in, and you get Parent of the Day award for even asking the question.
For
We're
sure.
so grateful that you're looking at these things. It means that the next generation is going to have some hope there. We're so grateful. We're going to go to the calls again. We're going to talk with Jane, who's calling us from Baltimore, Maryland, listens on WAVA. Hello, Jane. How can we help you today?
Yes. Well, good afternoon, and thank you very much for taking my call. My issue is that I have 2 children. They're adults. I have been under a cloud from the youngest, who is my daughter, and she took on, when my husband and I divorced, she took on as she began to age a little bit as a child, but both of these children were amazingly brilliant. And she started loving Drew Barrymore because Drew Barrymore is a child of divorce. I did not object to her, feeling that this was a guide for her because of the divorce. We, all 3 of us, experienced a great deal of anger and rage from her father, who was an emergency room physician. I loved him very, very much, tried to reconcile with him even after he moved out from us, but he did not pay very much attention to her. She was diagnosed at 13 months of age with cerebral palsy, spastic diplegia is what they called it. And
Jane?
I worked very hard, yes.
You can hear the music. That means I got to take a break, and I want to hear every bit of your question. It's really important. So hold on just a moment while we go to the break. We're here to help so many people in so many situations, and you can find a counselor in your area. We have life coaches, but more often than not, we hear from people who are asking for prayer because they're hurting, and then we can direct them to hope and help. We're going to get back to Jane's call right after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Stephen Arterburn from New Life Ministries. We know that Christian counseling changes lives. We hear evidence of that every day.
My relationships with my husband, with my friends, with my family are much richer and deeper and honest particularly my relationship with God. I see him in a more accurate form and begin to trust him more. There's joy and there's peace because I have the internal tools that I can trust. So it's radically changed my life. I'm just not even the same person.
Our nationwide network of licensed Christian counselors means there is help available near you.
Take the leap, jump in, and go for it. It's changed my life completely.
You don't have to be stuck where you are, but you can't really expect to change unless you take action. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. It could be the start of a whole new life for you. Christian counseling works, and we can help. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE today. Someone who cares is always there at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are going to continue taking calls, 1-800-229-3000 for about another hour. And I just want to give a plug to our Restore Intensive that's coming up. And Stacey's one of our speakers at the Restore Workshop. And I just want to say, one of the quotes we had, one of our attendees said, "This workshop helped me see that I am not the problem, that my husband's choices are not my fault, and I am not all of the horrible things I think of myself." You know, we want to help you get restored. And so join us. You can go to newlife.com and click on events. You'll see Restore there, or you can give us a call and ask us all the questions. Right now, I want to hear Jane's question. Jane, go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, I'm just trying to navigate getting a relationship with this daughter. It's also difficult with my son. He lives 3,500 miles away in California, and my daughter lives closer to me. She has decided that her father knows everything and totally crazy over him and the rest of it. She was a tremendous scholar and student. She also, because of many of the things that I did when she was very, very young, developed perfectly okay, because I was told she probably would never walk. She not only did walk, she became an athlete, actually, even in high school, and she was a merit scholar at the end of it, and was invited into an honors program. Her father does the opposite, and when we had a difficulty here because she was in some sort of psychological crisis, I was dealing with that because she was in therapy. And we actually met, my former spouse and I, with the counselor, with her there, and he was saying that each of us had very big opinions and that it was probably difficult to deal with both of us, is what he said in the open session. So I supported her going to college. I sent her to college the first couple of years. She was a straight A student. It was a community college, but again, they had an honors program. And there was a crisis that she was experiencing that I knew nothing about. And so I was talking to one of her cousins on the phone, a cousin who was not necessarily close to her whatsoever, but they were chatting on the phone with each other. And I heard her crying and to this cousin and becoming hysterical. So I went into the room to see if I could help with it, because she had her own, our home had large enough that she had basically her own, if you will, an apartment on the second floor of the house. If she didn't want me in it, I didn't have to go in, but typically she loved being with me and in the house. And that day, with the hysteria that she was experiencing, I tried to get her to stop the crying and to hold her, and she began screaming at me and at the cousin, and I shook her slightly and then tapped her with my fingers on her cheek, and she screamed to the cousin, she slapped me. So then I moved away, and I thought, this isn't going to work. She then called the police. The police came, and they talked to her. One of them talked to her, one of them talked to me. There were two. And he said, we think we need to take her to a hospital here in the city where they have good psychiatric care, because she believes the house belongs to her and has said that to us. And we know that you're in charge of the house. I said, no, that's perfectly fine that she would say that, because if anything happened to me, the house would be hers.
So Jane,
maybe she's doing that. Yeah.
In the essence of time, because I want Stacey and okay, go ahead.
Is that she's been living with her father now for about 15 years. She's 41 years old. He feels sorry for her, and so wants her to get every kind of disability, whatever. She has lost her drive, or whatever you want to call it, to be on her own. She's decided that, we can't talk to each other. I don't have the issues that the other people have, which is sometimes she did call me at one point, and her cousin, to whom she was the closest, who was about 10 years older than she.
So
died.
Jane, what in the essence of time, though, because I want to make sure they have time to answer you, it sounds like you're disconnected from her, and you're wanting to know how to reconnect in a way. Is that right?
Yes. And I supported her interest in Drew Barrymore because for some reason she feels as if this person, because she was a child of divorce, really understands her. So, and she's a wonderful...
Well, let's hear... hold on,
I
Jane. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, so Stacey, we only have a few minutes, but I want to get Jane some direction.
Yeah, it sounds like a long, difficult relationship, and it sounds like there's some mental health issues that are involved here with your daughter, and it's like she's got some emotions. So I'm wondering if her emotions are tolerable for you, if you're able to enter in with her on an emotional level. Without getting sucked into the over emotion, which is difficult. The fact of, I wonder what the last, 20 years have been like. Are there anything that you can join her in that's common, a hobby, an interest of hers? If you can come and find a place to join with her, even if it's something that you have no interest in, to try to connect with her on something that she likes, that might be like the first end point that I can think of, that you might want to try to connect. I'm interested to hear what Alice would say to that.
Jane, I agree with Stacey that trying to find common ground, if at all possible, might be an entry back into relationship with your daughter. And I hope you'll get opportunity for that. And if she's not allowing communication for the time being, then taking care of yourself by getting the support and comfort you need from a group of women, entering into a new life recovery group, a support group, so that you can keep talking about the pain, and you have a good desire to tell the stories, and you have a good recall for details. And so being able to tell the story in a safe environment with other people who can be listeners to you, I think will help settle your heart during the time that you're separated from your daughter. And we tragically see that adult children draw close to the abusive parent, which is just baffling for the victim parent. When your husband, I think you didn't even get to say that there was domestic violence. I think it got pretty extreme in the rage that you mentioned. And so to see your daughter draw into him is so upsetting and confusing. And you're of course worried of the way that he's treating her, doing too much for her, in fact. And so getting to lament and grieve her choices that you can't change right now and have very little influence over. I want your focus to be getting that care for yourself, so that when you have opportunity to be in contact with her again, you'll be more settled, because you'll need to be prepared to be a listener to her. When that previous therapist pointed out, you and your husband have big opinions. I think those big opinions and talking through the details of why things went down the way that they did, it may leave her feeling like there is not a whole lot of time given to hearing her without correcting her. And she is wrong about some of the details. She's wrong. But it's by prolonged listening without correcting our adult children that we have a better chance at healing the rupture. And so being prepared to accept the way I touched you, the way I handled that situation did not work well, and I was wrong about what I did.
Yeah, we're going to get you connected, Jane, with one of our therapists in your area. it's a healing process for sure. But we're grateful that you called today.
Yeah.
So grateful that Stacey and Alice were here. And if you're on the hold, just hold on. We'll be right with you. Call
Thanks for
us.
listening.
We can help.
We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.